Well, to everyone joining, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening for one final time. My name is Ryan Kennedy, the Global Child Nutrition Foundation. I will be your virtual MC for today's closing ceremony for the 22nd Annual Global Child Nutrition Forum, this time broadcast to you as a virtual conference for the first time in its history. As a reminder to any of our participants who are joining us in this session for the first time, this session will be broadcast in multiple languages. Today, we are offering live audio translation into both French and Spanish. If you'd like to access either of these audio channels, please use the globe icon at the bottom of your screen and select the audio channel that you would like to listen to. Today's agenda will feature pre-recorded notes, videos, as well as a few virtual school visits, along with an opportunity for us all to hear a formal reading of this year's annual Forum Communique. Throughout this virtual event, I have had the opportunity and privilege to serve as your virtual MC, working behind the scenes and in front of the camera for a variety of different sessions and in a variety of different ways. So in honor of that spirit, I will be starting this session with a brief opening address and a walkthrough of today's featured agenda. Throughout this forum, we've seen that there are many new challenges to ensuring that the world's children receive the nutrition that they need to learn and thrive. At the peak of the pandemic, 192 countries implemented school closures to try to stop the spread of the virus. Over 1.5 billion learners were affected by these school closures. And due to school closures, over 370 million lost access to their school meals. For many children and those families who rely on those school meals as those children's main source of nourishment, this was a devastating loss. But it wasn't just access to the food that they lost. 400 million children no longer benefited from school health programs like deworming and other critical interventions that go along with school feeding as a general intervention. Supply chains broke down around the world, making food more difficult to procure, more expensive to purchase, and limiting diet diversity. These and many other issues have been discussed throughout this forum as major concerns for the future of global school feeding. But we've also heard from participants that there are new partnerships, increased attention and political willpower for school feeding programs, a renewed sense of commitment to the cause, and more. This year, the Communique working group will be joining us shortly to share more of these challenges and opportunities facing our global community. Throughout this 22nd Global Child Nutrition Forum, we have acknowledged the challenges facing our work while remaining determined in our cause to ensure all children have access to a healthy school meal. We hope that our time together has helped you. We hope that our time together has helped you connect with other school feeding champions by joining our Global School Meals Exchange group on Facebook, by joining a variety of different panel, networking, and meeting sessions, and by hearing from other champions, advocates, implementers, frontline workers, and government officials from around the world in our country sharing sessions and our regional meetings. We hope that our time together has helped you build new inclusive coalitions through regional networks and through the relationships that you've managed to hopefully begin, develop, and cultivate during this virtual event. We hope that our time together has helped you learn from and share new resources and best practices. All of the presentations and resources shown throughout this event will be made available online in the coming weeks. In previous forums, those that have joined us in the past will be well aware of this. Participants would normally receive a USB drive with digital materials that they are able to then take home with them to their home communities and use in their effort to implement new strategies to improve their school meal programs. Well, this year, those same virtual resources will be made available more expansively on the GCNF website following this event, as we go through the different show notes and dynamic presentations that have been shared with us throughout this virtual forum, and make sure that those resources are available, accessible, and intuitively there to allow you to access and share these resources with your friends, colleagues, and communities. We hope that our time together has helped you track what's happening in the world of school feeding around us. In the spring, GCNF will be launching the results of our 2019 global survey so that we can continue to better understand how the crisis has affected school meal programs and children's access to nutrition. And through this forum platform, we hope that you all have learned something new from a different country and how they responded to this crisis and what they're doing with their school meal program. And most of all, we hope that our time together has helped you and encouraged you to build the school feeding system that you want to see in the future. GCNF stands at the ready to support you in building this new world of school feeding to be equitable, to be inclusive, and to be sustainable. And we want to hear from you. How can we make these kinds of events better in the future? How can we make these kinds of events best fit your needs, your interests, and help you accomplish your goals? Following today's session, we'll be sending out a general event feedback survey, and we would love to hear from each and every one of you about what your positive experiences have been in this event and what we can do in the future to ensure that these events continue to improve and be an invaluable resource to everyone in our global community as they seek to improve their school feeding programs. I'd also like to take a moment to say a very special thanks to the participants and have friends who have come together and supported our work. As our founder, Gene White, has always said, this kind of work cannot be done alone. And the effort that went into bringing together this virtual forum is a testament to those words. And it would be impossible for me to be able to thank each and every individual who made this event possible, but I will do my best. To our fabulous presenters, moderators, session hosts who have dedicated their time, knowledge, and resources to this event, we thank you. To our community donors and attendees, over 100 of whom have made contributions to this Global Child Nutrition Forum to help make this kind of event possible now and into the future and accessible. To our GCNF Business Network members and our corporate and individual donors who support our work year-round in creating these types of platforms and opportunities, we thank you. To the many, many behind-the-scenes staff, GCNF friends and colleagues who have made this event run smoothly. Within our team, to Cece, to Sage, to Siju, to Mamta, to Alice, to Lilian, and so many more that have worked tirelessly to bring sessions together and ensure that each and every session ran smoothly as possible. We thank you. And most importantly, to each and every one of you in attendance. An event cannot be an event if nobody were to show up. And so more than anything, I would like to thank each and every one of you who have taken the time to show up for this year's Global Child Nutrition Forum, to show up for school meals, and to show up to make this gathering possible. Thank you. Now, as we transition into the remaining agenda of today's closing ceremony, I'd like to reflect that in the past forums, a highlight of the event has always been the school visit day. It's an opportunity to go out into the field, interact with the school feeding program in a new country, in a new context, and with new opportunities to learn and to be inspired. There is no replacement for the opportunity to see each other's programs in person. But in today's closing session, we would like to do our best. We'll be showcasing a few virtual school visit examples in an effort to offer the opportunity to see examples of school meal programs and their responses over the past year from around the world. Today, we will have visits first to the Dominican Republic, and a special thanks for the video contribution from His Honorable Dr. Roberto Falcar, Minister of Education in the Dominican Republic, for the video submission, as well as a school visit to Thailand in a video prepared for this forum event by Mrs. Ari Phangwaran, Director of the Thungkok School in Thailand. Along with these videos, we will also, as I mentioned, be listening to a reading of this year's final forum communique from our Communique working group. We will have an address from our longtime friend, collaborator, and supporter, Mr. Daniel Balabon from the Brazil's WFP Center of Excellence, and a closing address from our fearless leader and executive director, Ms. Arlene Mitchell. And so with that introduction out of the way, I'd like to first take us to the Dominican Republic for a brief school visit that will be presented in Spanish. We'll have English captioning, and will be re-released later in some of our virtual school visit and country visit packages following this year's forum event. Thank you all again for joining us today, and I wish you the best through the rest of this closing ceremony.
El bienestar de nuestros estudiantes es primordial para la gestión del cambio que encabeza el excelentísimo señor presidente Luis Abinader. En el INAVIE, somos el organismo descentralizado adscrito al Ministerio de Educación, creado con la finalidad de promover los servicios de transporte, nutrición escolar y servicios de salud, apoyo estudiantil en uniformes y útiles, clubes científicos, tecnológicos y de artes, becas e intercambios de trabajo social, de turismo estudiantil, trabajo remunerado en vacaciones y de gobierno estudiantil entre los estudiantes del sector público a nivel nacional. En la actualidad, el 100% de los estudiantes del sistema educativo público dominicano reciben los beneficios del INAVIE, esto con más de 4.4 millones de raciones alimenticias repartidas diariamente durante el año escolar. Alrededor del 75% de nuestros estudiantes se encuentran en la jornada escolar extendida, donde reciben desayuno, almuerzo y merienda, yendo a casa con el 70% de los nutrientes requeridos diariamente. También están los programas de salud y servicio estudiantil. Con estos, ayudamos al complemento de tener estudiantes con mejor salud, impactamos la economía familiar e impulsamos las micros, pequeñas y medianas empresas de nuestro país. Con los programas de salud, bucal, auditiva, visual y preventiva, impactamos en la calidad estudiantil de nuestros niños, niñas y adolescentes. Hemos ido erradicando los problemas vocales de nuestros alumnos. Reducimos los problemas visuales con evaluaciones, operaciones y entrega de lentes. Anualmente, desparasitamos el 100% de nuestros estudiantes a nivel nacional. Y con la salud auditiva, contamos con los equipos de más alta tecnología para acabar con los defectos auditivos en los estudiantes. Con los servicios estudiantiles, realizamos la entrega de los kits de utilería escolar, los cuales están compuestos por un pantalón, un polo shirt, zapatos y media y una mochila totalmente equipada para que nuestros estudiantes tengan lo necesario para ir a clases. En este año escolar, estamos realizando la entrega de 750,000 kits de utilería escolar en todo el país, de acuerdo al mapa de pobreza extrema, y en las zonas de mayor vulnerabilidad, los estudiantes reciben el 100% de los útiles. Las utilerías entregadas son fabricadas por manos 100% dominicanas. La institución cuenta este año con un presupuesto que supera los 23,000 millones de pesos, algo más de 400 millones de dólares, para beneficio del estudiantado dominicano, tranquilidad de sus padres e impulso de la economía nacional. Sí, la economía nacional. Y es que alrededor del 95% de los suplidores del INAVIE son pymes o mipymes. La gestión del cambio de educación que encabeza el señor ministro de Educación, doctor Roberto Furcal, de la mano con nuestro señor director Cecilio Rodríguez Montaz, trabaja sin descanso por mejorar la alimentación y la nutrición, por más salud para nuestros estudiantes y sobre todo por un cambio de gestión de más y mejor bienestar para el país.
Now, I would like to introduce Ms. Nadia Goodman, lead facilitator of this year's Forum Communique Working Group, to begin the presentation of this year's formal Forum Communique. To you, Nadia.
Thank you very much, Brian. First of all, we would like to thank all participants for their contribution to this year's Communique. I'd like to share with you all how this year's Communique was developed. It was a different process from previous years. In the previous years, the Communique was developed through a series of meetings during the Global Child Nutrition Forum. This year, we developed the Communique over a period of 2 weeks. We had 6 online meetings at different times of the day to ensure all the participants of the forum could join the discussion. In addition, all the participants had access to the draft Communique in the GCNF booth, where they were able to make comments and provide inputs to the draft document. Last week, GCNF circulated the draft for final comments. We received many suggestions and inputs to the document, which were reviewed, and thank you all for this. To read the final version of the Communique this year, I would like to invite 3 participants of the forum. I will invite Ms. Yasmin Wakimoto. She's the Program Policy Officer at the WFP Center of Excellence Against Hunger in Brazil. Mr. Karma Wanguki, he is the Chief Program Officer, School Health Nutrition Division, Ministry of Education in Bhutan. And Mr. Ambokili Mangwaka, he is the School Feeding Manager in the Project Concern International PCI in Tanzania. So thank you all for all your support to develop this year's Communique. Yasmin, it's to you now. Thank you.
Thank you, Nadia. Okay, dear colleagues, the 22nd Annual Global Child Nutrition Forum was organized by the Global Child Nutrition Foundation. In light of the COVID-19 pandemic, the forum was held virtually, consisting of a series of related events from the 26th of October through the 12th of November 2020. The forum brought together 624 participants, out of which 350 were women, representing 35 countries, including high-level government officials, different governments, donors, private sector, NGOs, and media institutions. At the close of the event, online conversations had achieved 29,000 plus impressions on Twitter, and the session recordings were viewed over 450 times. Participants from 109 countries engaged with the event website, GCNF2020.org. The COVID-19 pandemic is changing the world of school feeding programs. At the peak of the first wave of the crisis, around 1.6 billion learners had been affected by school closures, and over 370 million children were missing out on the school meals that they rely on to learn and thrive. The 22nd Forum Communique focuses on opportunities and shares many of the challenges that have arisen during this phase. The COVID-19 pandemic will have long-lasting impacts and has already demonstrated the importance of strategies to tackle global emergencies of other types, which can have similar implications for school nutrition and health programs, wherein school feeding programs play a prominent role.
The 22nd Global Child Nutrition Forum recognized the impact of COVID-19 on school closure and school feeding programs, and the dedication of the partner to meet child food and nutrition needs. In addition, the forum recommends opportunities to meet current and future needs. 1. School feeding program catalyzed the commitment of stakeholders from national government and international organizations to provide sector partner and civil society. In addition, school feeding programs are a pathway for complementary interventions and programs, e.g., school health and nutrition services, literacy and education, social and protection, WASH. The commitment of stakeholders and the complementary interventions should be furthered in order to mitigate the health and food and nutrition vulnerabilities that COVID-19 has and future emergencies would affect. Second, legal framework enable and empower governments to lead emergency responses. Government policies, legal frameworks, operational guidance, overall system planning, and the public messaging to support local communities and the local and provincial government is critical. Multi-sectoral partnership, voice, and influencer are the key to the prioritization and the investment in school feeding programs. Partnership with governments and the other stakeholders have been strengthened, and the new partner and champions for school feeding has emerged. At the same time, public awareness has been raised in response to the pandemic. There is an opportunity to advocate for school feeding programs on multiple levels. That's for community, local, national, regional, and international engagement stakeholders, and new players in the process. School feeding programs are adaptive. School feeding programs have proven to be important and innovative, adapting to evolving circumstances to ensure that children receive needed nutrition. These features should be promoted for addressing this pandemic, including for the opening of a school and for the future emergencies. System for capturing timely and insight enable responsiveness, system of capturing timely data and insight enabling responsiveness. The pandemic has required timely data collection and analysis, knowledge sharing, and the broader use of technology, example of mobile phones, live dashboard, virtual meetings, and e-learning. The tools are approached for rapid captures of data, and insight should be permanently adopted for use in the future. Government and donor flexibility reduce the risk of leaving children behind. Government and donor flexibility to adjust funding to meet school feeding objectives through other pathways has met children and families where they are during the pandemic. Flexible funding and the implementation approach provide lessons and a roadmap for addressing other emergencies. Deep family engagement, strengthening education and the nutritional impact. Family engagement and relationship has been strengthening. School feeding stakeholders should incorporate and build on these strong family ties to support achievement in education and nutrition. Number 8, country partners country partners have demonstrated nimbleness in meeting family and child nutrition needs. The pandemic has required alternative school feeding modalities, digital accommodations, vouchers, food basket, cash transfers, and all delivery mechanism. For some countries, this was their first experience with this approach and they required quick adaptation. Number 9 was importance of support and development of frontline system and workers to promote health and safety. Training and the capacity building of frontline workers and the system strengthening can ensure safety of workers, community members, and food. It also draws special attention to prioritizing nutrition when implementing programs through new and diverse modalities and delivery mechanisms. Number 10, local food systems support livelihood, diet diversity, nutritional equity, and resilience. Local food systems are transforming in reaction to the pandemic. It is clear that more effort is needed to link school feeding programs to local production to build a more sustainable, equitable, and nutritional food system. This is an opportunity to involve and benefit local smallholders, farmers, and the marketing vendor. Collaboration with the Ministry of Agriculture and the other relevant ministries, example, the environmental protection, should be secured to guide and support farmers with a sustainable practice for providing safe produce for school feeding programs. Local, number 11, that's local and domestic supply chains enable a safe, consistent, and accessible food supply in times of crisis and instability. During the pandemic, countries experienced supply chain disruption and challenges in finding adequate ways to distribute fresh food. Local and domestic supply chains are wanting to react more quickly to emergencies and meet local food, nutrition and health needs. National and subnational supply chain support nutrition in the local economies. And they should be strengthening as they may perform better than larger, more complex supply chain within both emergency and development context. Number 12, nutritional-centered school feeding programs can reduce health vulnerabilities. Nutritious school feeding is important due to the linkage between malnutrition, immune system weakness, non-communicable diseases than NCD, risk, and COVID-19 vulnerabilities. Nutrition should be the core element when designing school feeding programs going forward, taking into consideration locations, population, and the locally available and affordable foods. That's one. Local procurement of nutrient-dense food can support nutrition priorities, dietary diversity, and local preferences. Biofortified and fortified foods should be integrated. Best practice in wash, health and hygiene, dietary diversity, and other supportive interventions should be applied to support nutrition's goals. School food workers, that's cooks, in most cases, women and food delivery, provide an opportunity for frontline nutrition education and continue to perform critical services in creative, resourcefulness, and neighbors' manners. Number 13 was school feeding programs reflect local context and the preferences. School feeding programs should be designed according to context, rural and urban areas, when adapting programs to respond to emergencies and shocks. These differences and the complexities in terms of context need to be considered. 14. The support of private sectors, partners that have the capacity to respond should be encouraged. Some private sectors actors will be in a position to provide in-kind and financial support and they contribute to needed technical expertise in responding to crisis, while others will be too negatively impacted themselves. The support of private sectors, partners that have the capacity to respond should be encouraged. Number 15, the South and South cooperation, proper knowledge sharing, scaling action, and investment. South-South cooperation is an effective means to strengthen school feeding programs, existing relationship, and the best practice, lesson learned, and the strategies shared between South and South partners has laid the foundation for learning during COVID-19.
In addition, the forum attendees recommend visible demonstration of political will and leadership from governments as needed to ensure food and nutrition security to all children for integrated and sustainable school feeding programs. National policy coherence and domestic resource allocation. Government should expand investment and coverage. Example, implementing universal school meal programs as a part of pandemic response, using evidence-based approaches to improve the design and implementation of programs. Multi-sectoral pathways and mechanisms. Government should incentivize and support multi-sectoral and intra-governmental cooperations and mechanisms for implementing school feeding programs. Foreign donor investment and technical assistance. The school feeding community hereby issues the call to action for a donor assistance as the crisis threatens to eliminate progress made over past decade or more in education and nutrition. Flexible funding and rapid program adaptation. Donors and government should continue to be flexible and to support greater local adaptation so that program implementers can be nimble and efficient in responding to the pandemic and other crises. Planning for school reopening. Government should utilize school feeding as a strategy to get back students back to school. When schools are preparing to reopen to students, government and implementers should design simple procedures, parenting strategies, and guidelines to help ease students and parents or caregivers' worries about going back to school and safety of school meals. Sharing school feeding knowledge systems and evidence and insights. Synergies in knowledge management should be created among governments, international organizations, regional institutions, NGOs, academia, and the private sector, capturing as success factors and reasons of failure from the past entities. Undertaking knowledge sharing initiatives such as UN agencies, joint publications on the topic can play a key role in this aspect. Conversations among school feeding supporters and stakeholders should be encouraged and continued throughout the year between forums. Digital platforms to manage and share school feeding resources, evidence, case studies, documentation, etc. should be implemented and used. Using lessons learned, good practices for program planning beyond the pandemic. Lessons learned during the pandemic related to the implementation of the school feeding program, such as rapid adaptation to the program's innovative flow of the funding and other elements should be examined for the permanent use and all for addressing future emergencies. Thank you, Tashidele.
Thank you. To Nadia, to Mbokile, to Yasmin, to Karma, and the entire Communique working group, not only for your tireless work throughout the duration of this forum and bringing this critical document together, but joining us once again in this closing ceremony to read this out to our participants and allow this to be a lasting testament to the work done this year. Traditionally at an in-person forum, we would take a pause at this moment to hear words from the floor, but in a virtual setting, this is a little bit harder to do, but we still wanted to make sure to take an opportunity to engage our audience as best as we can. For those of you who might, for those of you who are joining today, and for those of you who maybe have joined some of our different forum workshops, you may have had the opportunity to use a tool that we have been using called Mentimeter. For those of you joining today, and this is your first time, we invite you to open a new web browser or simply go to your phone and go to the website listed on the screen currently, menti.com. You'll be able to enter the following code and you'll be prompted to respond to different questions. This code and link will be shared in the forum chat right now. The results of this will be shared on screen by one of our production facilitators, Sage. Thank you. So Rebecca, if you could go ahead and pull the screen share now, and Sage will be sending this link and this code out into the chat there. I myself will go ahead and jump over to Mentimeter. We'll continue to keep this poll open for a little bit longer, but I think the responses that are coming through right now, it's a testament that there's no right and no wrong way to use this forum Communique. It's a true testament to the work done by the forum participants, and it's a tool created by the forum participants, for the forum participants, and for our global community. And one of the messages shared with us in our Fund and Advocacy workshop, as well as by some of our panelists, advocacy is about understanding the message that our partners need to hear and transforming the message that we have into the message that they need to hear. This forum Communique can serve as a tool to allow us to do just that, engaging with our local governments and other government partners, public-private partnerships, as a tool for education, for advocacy, for writing to others. We have participants who are planning to share it broadly, use it as a tool to meet with new donors, use it as a planning tool, an opportunity to involve parents and collaborate and share. Thank you all for engaging in this short exercise with us. It means a lot. For additional follow-up and feedback on the Communique and other aspects of the forum, we'll be sharing a post-event survey following this session, which you'll have an opportunity to respond at greater length. Now, before we transition to the final portion of our forum closing ceremony, as I mentioned, we have a school visit opportunity virtually to Thailand.
Mrs. Ari Puangwalin, Director of Wat Thung Kok Suwan Satukit School. My school is from kindergarten 1 to grade 9. Teacher checks body temperatures for everybody who entering the school. Teacher and student have to wear the face mask and washing their hands with alcohol gel during in the school. In the class has been social distance about 1 or 2 meters. The student in the class is not more than 20 persons. In the classroom, we open the window to ventilate of the air after the class. My school supplies fresh juice for all students to wear in the classroom. Students have to wash their hands frequently. Expand lunch space to accommodate students. The students in grade 7 to 9 bring the food for lunch from their home. My school provides lunch meal according to Thai school lunch program. My school hiring a cook for prepare and cooking. Food ingredients come from students. They go vegetables, rare chicken, go mushroom, red catfish, and frog. Food ingredients come from student parents. And sold to a school cooperative. If food ingredients are not enough, we will buy from the standard market mall.
Well, once again, a thank you to Mrs. Ari Bangwaran for the contribution of this video to our closing ceremony. We hope that our participants have enjoyed these brief virtual school visit opportunities that we've been able to include in this closing ceremony. And as a reminder, we will hopefully be able to continue with some of our other submissions that have been made by other countries after the forum is closed, as we re-release some of the forum content and allow you to re-engage with some of the different presentations made from countries around the world. So thank you once again for joining for those two portions. Now, before entering our final stretch of closing comments, this is a portion of the closing ceremony that once again has traditionally been an opportunity for government officials within the closing ceremony to offer closing remarks to our forum audience from what they've taken away from this forum and what they hope others have taken away from this forum as well. We'd like to take a brief pause for any government officials or other forum participants that have a brief 30 to 60 second parting message that they would like to share with the forum audience today. If you'd like to take this opportunity, please feel free to use the hands up icon in your Zoom bar, which will be found at the bottom of your Zoom screen. I'll give it about 30 seconds to see if anyone would like to take that opportunity. And if not, we'll move on to our final closing addresses. Perfect. Well, it's times like this that I do indeed miss the opportunity to stand at the podium in front of all of you and be able to look you all in the face and be together in the same room. So since no one is taking me up on this this opportunity to share with our forum audience, again, we encourage you to submit any feedback that you have, especially if you'd like it reshared with our forum audience in the post-event survey. But beyond that, please be following the GCNF webpage as well as our mailing lists as we continue to redistribute forum content that we've collected and will be producing over the coming weeks and months. So now, moving to the final portion of this closing ceremony agenda, we have prepared for you a GCNF closing video with remarks from partners around the world, responding to the challenge from our president, Dr. Ronald Kleinman, how and what you would imagine in a new world of school feeding. We have an address recorded and shared with us by our friend and partner, Mr. Daniel Balabon, at the Brazil Center of Excellence, and closing remarks from our director, executive director, Ms. Arlene Mitchell. Without further ado, I'll move us into that portion of the agenda.
As we all know, the COVID-19 pandemic has wreaked havoc on school systems and disrupted school meal programs around the world. This health crisis is rapidly compounding existing food security issues and creating new challenges in ensuring that children have the nutrition they need to learn and thrive. Vulnerable children are being deprived of a daily meal at school. Child hunger has surged to levels that we haven't seen in recent history. The damaging effects of this pandemic will be felt by generations to come. The crisis has, however, created a critical moment for school meal supporters and champions to come together to imagine a new and more resilient food system, one that not only provides a meal, but invests in local agriculture production, supports community-based entrepreneurs and businesses, and creates opportunity for children, their families, and their countries. So I offer you a challenge. Throughout this forum, consider what the new world of school feeding might look like in your wildest dreams, and how you'd plan to contribute to this new world. What would you like to see? What stakeholders would be involved? What new partnerships could be created? Who could benefit from this new system? These are some of the important, forward-looking questions that we'll need to consider together.
I know that my hopes for my son to be well-nourished and grow and live life to his fullest potential are not unique. These are the hopes of all families for their children, but our food systems are not always equitably designed to provide everyone the same access and availability to affordable and healthy foods. And the recent pandemic has shown how those inequities can have disproportionately damaging impacts on the most vulnerable communities. So I hope that we as a global community have heard the siren call for change this year. I envision a future where collective action among our communities, governments, farmers, and the food industry prioritize children's health and nutrition. School feeding policies and well-designed programs impact children's opportunities to access healthy food at school. Agricultural practices and policies that work in tandem with the food industry to produce nutritious foods over unhealthy foods. We need to empower communities, both urban and rural, to advocate for themselves a better food system that serves their needs. It's also often these communities that are the backbone of our food system, especially women and migrant workers who work as farmers, aggregators, processors, and cooks. We need to meet people where they are. School feeding is an important lever in the food system that we can commit to, strengthening and influencing the larger infrastructure of health, education, housing that should be designed to give every child equal footing to achieve their dreams. Do you agree, Ray? Yeah. But what did all that mean?
Thank you very much for inviting me to take part in the challenge. What I would like to see is a very positive outcome for the school feeding program after COVID pandemic. I want to see more passionate professionals who want to improve nutrition and feed kids around the world. I would like to see the world with little or zero bureaucracy in place, where old inefficient guidelines are replaced by the new efficient ones, where national government, local government, and local school administrations are working together proactively, where countries can partner together and exchange their best practices via online platforms and get prompt feedbacks. I would also like to see digital tools like social media be used for ongoing communication between countries, international organizations, partners, donors, so that everyone could have an easy access to information. And after the crisis, I'd like to see all the kids back to school safely. And I'd like to see the same approach to safety and hygiene to be followed at school.
Hello, my name is Tammy Bewitz, and I live in Arlington, Virginia. I have 3 boys, ages 5, 10, and 12, and they all attend public schools here. As a parent, planning meals for them can be exhausting. Convincing my boys to eat healthy and trying to appeal to their changing and finicky taste buds is a time-consuming task that involves careful planning, some skillful persuading, and I'll be completely honest, sometimes a little bribery. My vision for a dream school feeding program involves a major shift in our public school curriculum that would focus on making healthy eating exciting, engaging, and cool. It would rely heavily on outside partnerships, community members who might come from local farms, master gardeners, representatives from government, anyone who could help us think outside of the box. The curriculum would incorporate a holistic approach to educating kids and families about how wise and deliberate food choices impact not only the health of our bodies, but our homes, our economy, and our entire planet. I'm thankful that our elementary school does value the importance of educating our kids about food and nutrition to help them make healthier food choices. However, these days, the pressures of academic testing dictate the structure of the school day in myriad ways, including squeezing lunchtime to less than 30 minutes. In my dream food program, mealtime would be comfortable and unrushed when kids could focus on developing their friendships, relaxing, and simply enjoying a good meal. In addition, growing, harvesting, and cooking food would be a regular part of their school day. They would serve the food to their peers in the cafeteria or take it home to share with their families. To support this scale of production, we would have to partner with organizations who could help us find ways to access open spaces. Finally, in my dream program, public schools would have enough resources to help tackle social justice issues around poverty and climate change. It is imperative that our kids keep up with science and history to develop a deeper understanding of the impact that their food choices have on each other and the planet. What can I do? As a parent, I am one voice, but I plan to use it to speak up and fight for what I believe is important. Thank you, GCNF, for all the work you do to address this important topic.
In my family, my mother was a nurse, my father was a teacher. And this was during the Depression in the United States when people had very little money at all. In fact, in our household, my father didn't get paid. He taught at school with no salary. And I remember when he came home from school one winter day and my mother would say, "Are we going to get paid this month?" And he would say, "No, not this month, but maybe in the spring." And I can remember many meals where we did not have enough food. Well, we had no income. And my father continued to teach faithfully every day. Not for the money, but because he was teaching children how someday they might avoid hardships like this for themselves. I think part of this is willingness to let experiences like that, which were not pleasant, shape our lives and what we do. We can't turn our back on experiences like that were difficult. My father not being paid for a year at a time, and us eating cornmeal mush for every meal wasn't a hardship because I learned from that. And I think we learned that we take opportunities in life, be they good or be they bad, and help create them to something that's going to influence change in a positive way. So we can't forget the past, we just build on it. We've learned that we all need tools to do the job. When you're building something, and in this case we were building a global program, each in our own unique ways, that adds up to the fact that globally, each in our countries, we're working together to better feed children. So I think that perspective has been important. It's not a matter of one country over another. It's a matter that we learn from each other. And I would especially thank the United Nations World Food Program and the many other organizations who are part of this. You don't do this alone. You do this in collaboration, and you learn together. So I think that's what really got us started, was to share information so we can guide each other. That's been helpful, yeah.
Dear friends, we are approaching the closing of another Global Child Nutrition Forum, and I believe this was one of the most challenging to organize. We all know that the forum is a moment for all school feeding champions around the world to gather, change experiences, listen to good examples, share our ideas, in short, be together. And this year, we are facing a pandemic that didn't allow us to do that. But it was decided that the forum should happen, even online. So I would like to congratulate Dr. Kleiman, Arlene, and the whole GCNF team to putting this idea in place and making happen this online forum. It was a great job. I believe that we are now facing a crucial moment for the world. It's time to make decisions. Or we continue with a world where just 26 people have half of the wealth, while almost 700 million people are struggling to find any food to eat. And this scenario is getting worse. Let me emphasize that hunger is both cause and effect to conflict. Without peace and stability, we will struggle to achieve our goal of zero hunger. The Nobel Prize given by the Norwegian Committee to WFP puts the struggle on the almost 700 million people who go to bed hungry at the center of the world attention, and we welcome this. We recognize that one of the greatest contributions it can make to humanity is to provide a voice to these millions of people that are now hungry in the world. The Nobel Peace Prize gives us a platform to make their needs heard and to mobilize support for the food assistance they need. The Nobel was a global message and incentive for governments, private sector, foundations to keep investing and keep promoting cooperation venues for multilateralism. And I strongly believe that we start fighting hunger when we construct sustainable school feeding programs in our countries. When we start feeding our children in our countries, we are giving them a better and a brighter future. And to create sustainable school feeding programs, we need cooperation. COVID-19 has exposed the fragility and inadequacies of our global systems, and the world has a historic opportunity to address and to respond to those weaknesses in order to recover better. Partnerships can boost the knowledge exchange, technology transfer, and resource mobilization necessary to maintain our programs working. They can also equip communities with the resources needed to escape the poverty and hunger trap, provide financial support, and facilitating access to nutritious food and essential services. Doing that, we can change lives. Global systemic crises, as in 2008, have taught us that countries with strong social protection systems suffered the least and recovered the fastest. The pandemic will show the same, if not worse. Social policies benefits linked with strong school feeding programs have proven to have multiplying and long-lasting positive effects in individuals and economies at large. Some solutions to respond to countries' current and growing claims are available from our side. And I would like to share some thoughts with you on how can we work together. We need to increase smallholder farmers' productivity, reducing poor harvest loss by supporting producers' access to inputs, assets, services, and markets, including their capacity to mitigate climate adversity and other compounding shocks. We can promote that food and nutrition needs of vulnerable populations are met by supporting governments as well as by securing necessary linkage to social protection and nutrition systems and interventions such as school feeding to create holistic support from production to consumption and making sure that food systems operates within the limits of environment and natural resources base. Through effective cooperation, we can implement and accelerate programs on the ground that are country-driven and advance progress on SDG 2. However, we now live in a world under severe transformation, with physical limitations for interactions between colleagues and among governments. And this is topped by stalled financial resources. To adapt, improve, and extend our action, we need to take stock of what works, when, and how, and who can do what to enhance cooperation to respond to growing country demand. For example, digital transformation. WFP Center of Excellence in Brazil, remote assistance, and virtual exchange were key to keep the continuity of cooperation for Indonesia, Nepal, and West Africa since March 2020. In West Africa, remote cooperation assistance already reaches indirectly more than 3 million children in schools, as regional implementation plans continue to be developed under this crisis. This is a new model with very good results, but there is still plenty of room to improve, share, and join hands. More than ever, we need all partners on board to respond to this unprecedented crisis, and cooperation can be a means for that. It's only by helping each other that in unlocking the knowledge, expertise, technology, and innovation available in the developing countries that we will be able to thrive and ensure that no one is left behind in hunger. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us for those words. And now I'd like to turn the stage over to our Executive Director here at the Global Child Nutrition Foundation, Ms. Arlene Mitchell. Arlene, the floor is yours.
Thank you. As we come to the end of the 22nd Annual Global Child Nutrition Forum, there are far too many people and organizations to thank for their contributions to making this virtual event possible. But I must try, so please bear with me. I'm likely to talk about you. As I begin the thank you list, though, I'm going to call on you for 5 things. I will intersperse those 5 things in the thank you list, and I hope you will remember them. There could be a quiz at the end. The first of 5 things I call on you for is to take care of yourself and your loved ones. COVID-19 is extremely serious and extraordinarily contagious. We cannot serve others if we are sick or need to care for others who are sick. Now some thank yous. First and foremost, I want to thank the General Mills Foundation and our Business Network members, as well as all of the individual donors who contributed to GCNF over the year and for this forum. Your generous support has allowed us to continue our work and to make this virtual forum a reality. We hope we are making you proud. Thank you to the World Food Program Executive Director, David Beasley, for his inspiring and urgent call to action, to Carmen Burbano, Daniel Balaban, Cristiani Buani, Sharon Freitas, Bruno Magalhães, Lena Arias, Pete Vogten, Yasmin, and the many, many more WFP colleagues who participated in and contributed to the forum. Now, the second of the 5 things I call on you for is to make use of the forum communique and the GCNF global survey data. There are 3 main pieces of the global survey. The first is a set of country reports, one for each country that has a large-scale program and that completed the survey. The second is a report of all the countries that received or were eligible to receive support from the USDA McGovern-Dole program since 2013. The third is the global report that encompasses the whole survey and all responding countries. The country reports and the McGovern-Dole report are available now. The global report will be launched next year. All are or will be posted on our website, gcnf.org, and made available to you. If you are program implementers, use the country reports and the communique to advocate for your program. If you're a policymaker in your country, consider the call to action in the communique and use your country reports to see how the program can be strengthened. If you are a donor or work for one, use these reports and the communique to understand where there are needs and opportunities. If you're a researcher, use them to dig deeper, find evidence for the multiple benefits of school feeding, and help us to understand where the leverage points are and communicate these to others. Now, a few more thank yous. I want to thank our colleagues at the US Department of Agriculture, including the McGovern-Dole team. Thanks to our friends in FAO, especially Fatima, Melissa, and Andrea. Thanks to our friends at the African Union's NAPAD, especially Bibi and Haladu. We also thank Lynn Brown and our other friends at IFPRI and Harvest Plus. Thanks to the team at the UN Standing Committee on Nutrition and UNICEF. Thank you to Lisa Moon, Monica Dykes, Doug, and other colleagues at the Global Food Banking Network and the Food Bank in Colombia. Thank you to Catherine Bertini, who in addition to supporting this forum and many of us personally, has worked tirelessly around the world to support school feeding programs and to end hunger. Thank you to our friends that share our strength and to our private sector exhibitors, Tetra Pak, DSM, Adhesia, and the US Dry Bean Council. I have visited all of the exhibits and read the excellent materials. Thank you. Now, the third of 5 things I call on you for is to help us to conduct the 2021 Global Survey of School Meal Programs. We will start the survey in mid-year 2021. Our original goal was just to update the 2019 survey, but a much more important goal has emerged. The 2021 survey will help us all to understand and explain the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic for school children around the world, and to identify lessons to help deal with such crises in the future. Back to thank yous, I want to especially thank all of the government officials who took time from their busy schedules to present their programs and otherwise participate in the forum. Special thanks go to Permanent Secretary Mulindwa from Rwanda, Madame Mininyu from Benin, El Haji Sek from Senegal, Dr. Nkunku from the Republic of Congo, Mr. Mamboka from Tanzania, and our colleague from South Africa. In Asia, I'd like to thank Karma Wangchuk from the Ministry of Education in Bhutan, Deepa Singh Bagai from the National Health Authority, and Vijay Bhaskar of the Ministry of Education, both of them from India. Renuka Pieris from the Ministry of Education in Sri Lanka. Karina Santos at the Brazilian National Fund for Education Development, and Cindy Long of the US Department of Agriculture. We also thank Minister Bibeau, the Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Foods in Canada, Mr. Roberge, the Minister of Education from Quebec, as well as Danielle Germain, Judith, Jose, Sophie Rose, and all of our other colleagues in the Breakfast Club of Canada and in their partner organizations, the Toronto Foundation for Student Success, Kids Eat Smart in Newfoundland, and the Four Arrows Health Authority. Now for the fourth of 5 things I call on you for. This is for you to stay in touch over the coming months. We need one another for support, for understanding, and for helping to find solutions. This network of caring, committed professionals is a precious resource and one that helps us to keep going when things get tough. And of course, plan to join us for the 2021 forum. A few more thank yous. Thank you to Ann Sellers and the Extended Catholic Relief Services team, Sung Lee and Save the Children. Thank you, Clarissa at Eat Right, Be Bright in New Zealand, our friends at Nascent Solutions at Mercy Corps, Project Concern International, Mary's Meals, Counterpart International, JAM, St. Vincent de Paul, the School Nutrition Association, and the many other nonprofits and non-governmental organizations that I might have missed. Thank you to Dr. Donald Bundy of the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. Thank you to our colleagues at the Japan Consortium for Global School Health Research and Sarah Burkhart at the University of the Sunshine Coast in Australia, and the other researchers and academics who participated. Thanks for all who contributed the wonderful videos and words of encouragement along the way. And finally, thank you to the GCNF Board of Directors and the whole extended team that worked so hard for this forum. Ryan, Rebecca, Sierra, Mamta, Nadia, Mary, Jenny, Alice, Rita, Lilian, Heidi, Maria, Khulud, Jana, Sage, Amy, Sijo, and the translators at Sapiens. Thank you, thank you. To anyone I should have thanked and didn't, even if I'm forgetful, I am grateful. We all thank you. Now to conclude, here's your test. What are the 4 things I called on you for? Well, number 1 is to take care of yourselves and your loved ones. Number 2, make the forum communique and GCNF global survey reports and data. Make use of those. Number 3, help us next year to capture the lessons and impact of COVID-19 in the 2021 global survey. Number 4, stay in touch with us and others in this wonderful network of friends and join us at the 2021 forum. And now number 5, the last and the most important. Please join me in this call to action. We must take care of our children and we must insist that others help us to do so. The children need us now more than ever. The time for the new world of school feeding is now. And we are the team that can make it happen. We are the team that will make it happen. With that, thank you for a wonderful virtual experience. The 2020 forum is now declared closed.
Thank you so much, Arlene, for those words, those 5 challenges, and for joining us in this closing ceremony to officially close this year's Global Child Nutrition Forum and officially begin the preparation for next year's forum. And within that preparation comes a focus on the 5 challenges issued by Arlene: to stay in contact, to take care of ourselves, to help conduct the 2021 survey, to care for our children, and to make use of this forum, Communique. These resources and others will be shared with you all in the coming days, weeks, and months. Because of the nature of a virtual event, engagement can continue even after the formal closure. You'll see report outs from our regional meetings, recordings of our country sharing sessions, availability of the resources discussed in our technical panels alongside the recordings, additional videos around the developments in school feeding from around the world, all available through our network, as well as different mailing lists. We encourage you to participate in the closing forum, virtual forum general survey to not only offer feedback, but to let us know what resources you would most like to receive from us and what topics you would most like to learn about. So to reiterate from Ms. Arlene Mitchell, thank you. Thank you to everyone she's listed. Thank you to everyone who's collaborated to make this possible. And thank you to everyone who's shown up over these last 3 weeks for this forum and shown up for school meals. It has meant the world to us. It has meant the world to me. And it's been a pleasure to engage with you all once again this year. And with that, I will be signing off for the last time in this year's virtual forum. And I look forward to carrying this conversation forward with all of you this year.